Morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is breathing into it, breathing into life, breathing into circumstances, breathing into the unfoldment that life is occurring all around us. In other words, releasing resistance, allowing what is to be so that we can then respond in an appropriate manner rather than reacting and rather than struggling and suffering. We get to align ourselves with life and be in service to Mother Life. So before we get started, let's take a couple minutes and get present. And good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. It's so good to start the week and the day with you and with everybody else who's joining us. We're going to just take a few minutes to get settled in before we talk about breathing into it. So let's start with a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, all your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together and vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the motion, the pressure, the temperature, and the tickling and tingling when you stop, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So breathing into it. We get so caught up in life, right? We get so caught up in circumstances and what we want and what we think is right and what we think is best. And we have all these opinions and attachments, and then we worry and we struggle and we suffer and we project and we go through all these dances as life is unfolding, and then life unfolds and then we react to that, and either we're disappointed or we're elated or we're essentially blown around by the winds of change and life's unfolding. And what if we were to just allow life to be an unfolding adventure and to be curious rather than attached? What would that look like? And this conversation is coming from, I think I mentioned to you all that I might be buying an RV. And this has been a dream that I've had for 26 years. It's hard to believe that it's been so long. It's really hard to believe it's been so long. Anyway, tomorrow it's getting inspected, and the inspection is the condition upon which I'll buy it or not buy it. So it's an old RV and whatever. Anyway, I could be making myself crazy about it. And it's been a practice, actually, to just allow that whatever happens is going to be perfect. If I get it, if I don't get it, to just allow it to unfold. And it's been an interesting process for me to be present to that allowing, and to notice that I actually am just, I'm okay either way. I'm okay with that. I'm allowing it to be right either way. And it's very liberating because I haven't had to invest so much time and energy in whatever's going to happen that I'm not controlling. Like there's a lot of life just unfolds and it's not within our control. And um, we don't act that way. We get very attached, and rather than dancing with life, dancing in response to life, we tend to resist, and we tend to try to overpower it and orchestrate it and design it. And it's not to say we can't design life. It's not to say we don't have choice. It's not to say that we don't have input into the unfoldment of our lives. We certainly do. And in fact, this breathing thing is very much about the way that we are engaging with life in its unfoldment, right? We can be worrying and stressing and obsessing about situations that we can't do anything about, or we can cultivate curiosity and cultivate the breath, to just breathe, to just be, to allow ourselves to be in life in its emergence, to be part of that emergent action, movement, evolution, if you want to even call it that. Emergence is really the greatest, that is the best word that I've come up with. and to dance, with life rather than trudging through, or carrying these burdens that we manufacture for ourselves so often. What would it be instead to just dance? I probably should have called this just dance rather than breathe into it. Either way, it's the same kind of thing. When we breathe, we bring ourselves back to ourselves. We bring ourselves back to center. We bring ourselves back to presence, or into presence. So often we are just buffeted around by circumstance, blown around by the wind, essentially. This is going the way I like it, so I'm happy. This is going the way I don't like it, so I'm upset. This is, just back and forth and back and forth, rather than allowing ourselves to dance, to ride with it, to fly, or to soar, or to glide as the winds blow the way they blow. It's a very different perspective to be living life with curiosity versus fear. And so many of us are guided by fear. I don't know if guided is the right word. How about living at the effect of fear? You know, focused on all the risks, focused on all the dangers. I'm not saying don't be apprised of them, don't recognize them. I'm saying we don't, once we recognize them, we can take appropriate precautions or not, and we can respond rather than react in a more appropriate way than if we allow ourselves to get caught up in adding meaning to all kinds of circumstances. And I know I've spoken this to you before, but years ago, I had the opportunity to be volunteering at a week-long event with the Dalai Lama. And the thing that I consciously, the one thing, the most impactful thing that I consciously took away with me was this, that all suffering is a result of misconceptualization. And what does that mean? It means that it's the way that we think about things that cause suffering. For instance, when we say it shouldn't be like this, then that can be a cause of suffering. It can also be that suffering or that pain that we experience as we recognize that this shouldn't be this way. It may be something that spurs us to action. It may be an awareness that then has us respond in an appropriate way. It's also something that could have us respond in an inappropriate way. You know, so many times we rush to solutions, or we rush to trying to fix something rather than create something new. I had a very interesting conversation over the weekend over the let me think what it's called. Give me a second. It's let me find it. Let's see. Trying to find, okay. The superconductor, LK99, room temperature superconductor. And this person that I was speaking with was saying it's the solution to all our problems. It can create levitation. It's kind of an unlimited source of energy. And we got into these conversations and how it can make us an intergalactic species. And then we got into this conversation. I have to say, I didn't feel heard at all, but we got into this conversation about, great, now we have another technology that gives us even more power, even more reach, and we're taking the same predatory kinds of values forward into the use of the technology. Like, it's still extractive technology. It's still about being able to now go and access more resources to consume, rather than recognizing that there's a bigger picture going on here, that we're part of something else, that what we're doing here as humans is affecting our entire planet, and that perhaps our planet has an effect on the greater cosmos also as being part of this greater cosmos, and which, brings into conversation the whole alien conversation and ETs and what might they be doing here. And I've been listening deeply into a lot of what's happening around this, because I think it's a much bigger thing than we're making that I don't think that we're ascribing enough importance to this whole extraterrestrial thing. I was listening to Dr. Stephen Greer, Stevengreer, and he has been a proponent, and he was an ER, or it was an ER trauma surgeon. I think he's still current with all his medical stuff, but he's been a very large proponent of disclosure for more than 30, well, at least 30 years. And I'm listening to an interview. You can find it on YouTube, by the way, and I'll tell you what it's called in a minute. It is called Dr. Stephen Greer on Seeing and Studying Aliens, Man-Made versus Alien UFOs, and more. Anyway, I recommend listening to it. It's pretty fascinating, and he's been engaged in this for years and years. And he talks about how there's a possibility that the whole alien thing is going to be twisted into a War of the Worlds type threat, which could be ultimately devastating. And he says if they wanted to be, if they were hostile, they would have LK99 superconductor. Rosalind saying, yeah, check that out too. That's very interesting. But anyway, he's talking about if they were hostile, they could just shut down our civilization in a heartbeat. So that's one point. And the other point that he mentions relative to this superconductor, which allows for levitation, he's saying we've had the technology since the 50s, that we have actually we have anti-gravity devices and vehicles that have been in development since then. And this disclosure thing creates a bit of an issue, because if we've had these technologies for so long, why are we relying on fossil fuels? Why are we relying on solar? Why are we relying on wind when we could be doing 0-point energy? So that's a really interesting point. And I think it's fascinating that just over the past several weeks, there's been more information out and available, or at least I've been able to, it's showing up on my feed on 0-point energy devices, and people who have been researching and developing these technologies over years and years, and people who have been murdered or disappeared as a result, and also technologies that have been mysteriously disappeared because they've been bought up and shelved by companies that were trying to protect their bottom line at the expense, really, at this point, of humanity, right? By perpetuating fossil fuels and the whole industry. This may sound really nutty if this is not familiar information to you. I think it's worth listening to. It's worth exploring. Not asking you to believe me, but take a look at the information that's out there. This is the UFO thing is something that I've been following for years and years and years. And it's very interesting that it's now coming out publicly. And I wonder what's up that it's happening now? What's up that we're hearing about it now? And I don't think that it's unrelated to the fact that we're kind of on a precipice with our future as we look at climate change and global warming and the short period of time that we have to save ourselves as we're in this sixth extinction. It calls for radical change. And I can't think of anything that would precipitate global and rapid change more readily than a higher intelligence showing up here. It's very, very interesting, to be looking at all these pieces and wondering, well, how do all these things fit together? I think this is the most interesting time of humanity, at least in our known history, right? I mean, we have the emergence and rapid development of AI. We have accelerated climate endangerment, like literally endangering the future survival of life as we know it. We have the disclosure of extraterrestrials, and along with that comes extraterrestrial technology that could really potentially turn things around. This is a very fascinating time, plus whatever's happening politically, the rise of totalitarian influences globally. It's just a fascinating time and so many interesting elements to the dynamic. I just imagine if this extraterrestrial thing really shows itself and becomes, it's fascinating to me about how it's now being mainstreamed. If even just a couple of years ago you talked about UFOs, people would say, yes, of course we can't be the only life form in the universe, but you still would be considered a crackpot, right? Apparently this has been above top secret, where presidents won't be read into the information around it. Rosalind says, if electricity power is regenerative, hopefully it can be harnessed in a way that helps, making the technology available to anyone who wants to build it, not keeping the patent for only one manufacturer. As for aliens, bring on disclosure. Check out Stephen Greer. Seriously, he's been doing this disclosure thing for forever. And that interview, it's a couple hours. It's really fascinating. I still haven't heard the whole thing, but he talks about all kinds of covert operations and how there is a government that is controlling all this information and the release of it, or has threatened presidents previously who wanted to blow it open. And yeah, it's pretty fascinating all the way around. So Steven Greer, Greer, is the name of the fellow you want to check out. Dr. Stephen Greer. You can go on YouTube and you'll find his interviews. And he's been advising the government, he's been advising presidents for years and years. Anyway, all very fascinating. We definitely live in interesting times. where there's this incredible convergence of so many extreme bits of information. You know, if it were cataclysmic for us to discover that the earth was not the center of the universe and people were killed over that years and years ago, what's it going to be for the extremely arrogant humans that we are to discover that we are not anywhere near as intelligent as we think we are, that there are far superior intelligences in the universe and perhaps, well, definitely already here. So interesting, interesting, interesting. That's it for today. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network and Enlightened World Living. And we get to breathe into all of this. And until next time, it's always my privilege and pleasure to have these moments to share together. And until next time, so much love to you.